Well, do we trim the fat or do we cut it to the bone? State Auditor Brian Sonntag tonight on Public Exposure. I'm Stan Emert. Brian, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much, Stan. Good to be here.
We are so happy to have you on essentially the eve of the opening of the legislative session, right?
Yes, yeah, they are back in town.
And so you get to advise them what to do.
I'm not sure they look at it as my advising them, but I'm happy to provide whatever input and help they'll take from us.
Well, actually, the Auditor Office, and I want to get their website up. It's sao.wa.gov, SAO for State Auditor's Office. It's a great website. It's very informative and it's easy to get through. So strongly encourage, if you have any questions, to go to it. And we're going to be going over some of the functions tonight. But is the Auditor's Office being looked at now by legislators in a new way, in a helpful way with regard to budget, or is it the way it's always been?
I think by many legislators we are being looked at differently. Certainly an opportunity to help guide through some of the financial issues that are in the legislature and state agencies this year at this particular time. But also it's based on the work that our office has always done. The financial compliance or accountability and now performance audit work that our office has done is very valuable. If it's used as a constructive management tool, it could really help identify ways to make state government work better.
Well, let's just go straight to that then. Seattle PI, in quoting Washington Governor Christine Gregoire, Washington Governor calls for government reforms and public service. Let's go to what she said. For us and for all Washingtonians, there are two words that will define us as the challenge and seize the opportunity. Those words are courage and generosity. In light of projected as much as a $7 billion deficit, I think generosity is probably one of the things that's going to move out, and courage is the thing that's going to move in. Is that right?
Well, I would assume so. Although I think the part the governor talked about, compassion, would be helping other people, helping folks who are in need. She referenced flood victims and many others, and folks who are in particularly struggling at this time financially, people jobs, for ways for those of us who have to help those who have not. The other part, the reform part, I think is the courage part that leads to, and the courage to be bold, the courage to focus on reforming government. You hate to overuse the word opportunity, but the crisis that we're facing now nationally and in this state and everywhere throughout this country does bring an opportunity for some fundamental governance change. Some of those changes we've been advocating for a long time, and we're not going to be able to get the attention of policymakers, such as legislators, such as former governors, who without such a crisis see no need for the kind of change we've always worked towards. And
in the public, we all talk about we want change, but then when it's right there upon us and it hits us in the face, it's hard. It's hard to deal with change. I mean,
they want somebody else to change.
Well, what are the sacred cows that have to go away?
The governor made a great comment about that in her State of the State address that I really appreciated. She said that it's not just time to tackle and take on some of the sacred cows, but it's time to put some of those sacred cows out to pasture. And to me, that really means fundamental change. She has asked me and for our office to be involved in some real governance change, looking at boards and commissions and how many of those can be sunsetted and reviewed and determine what can move on or what should or what shouldn't. We're also going to move that a step further and enter into a statewide performance review, one that actually, Stan, I started talking to you about 16 years ago or so.
I think it probably was.
Patterned after similar reviews that have happened in California, Texas, North Carolina, Michigan, all over the country. Even the National Performance Review in 1993 and 1994 led to some very significant change.
I want to go back to your website, to your front page. Let's go to that, and then let's go ahead and one more click. We're getting big up on the screen. It's part of the About section, and there's a lot of things that you do. What can you do for local government, because local government is going to have some very difficult times in dealing with economic hard times?
Well, they are, and part of our effort is to not be part of that burden on governments with additional costs, additional audit fees. We bill for our audit work because that's the way our budget is set up, but it's been 7 years since we've even increased our billing rate to local governments, and we're going to maintain that for as long as we can. We also want to help those governments improve, and by seeing our office evolve to and ultimately become a clearinghouse, if you will, for government best practices, and we can share those with local governments all around the state, whether it be, you know, a county as small and across the state like a Stoughton County, or the city of Bellingham, northern part of the state. But I think we're best positioned to help accomplish that.
Well, do you do more performance audits or more financial audits, or just what type of audits do you do mostly these days?
Well, since the Citizen Initiative was passed in 2005, giving us performance audit authority and responsibility, we've worked towards putting together really a landmark program for this state, one different than any other state across the country. And we've taken on some very big projects, Port of Seattle, Department of Transportation, Department of Health, some others, and some smaller applications, the state motor debt collection of state agencies. And what we're working on now as we continue to move this forward, we're not going to remain stagnant and complacent. We're coming up with a way to blend our audit work so that we're not calling part of our work financial or compliance and another part accountability and another part performance. When we go do audits of local governments or state agencies, our bread and butter day-to-day audit work, we're going to audit. And some of that is going to hit performance kinds of areas. Some will be on the financials and other compliance work. And in doing that, we're really going to see our audit work go to a new level. We're going to implement our own training academy. Well, what that training academy is not a building with classrooms. Our training academy is one of our deputy auditors in our performance audit area right now, who has experience from the state of California in training auditors, so that our auditors who are doing good work right now can also bring in the aspect of performance.
So what do you think your office's greatest impact can be? And where do you think that you're not filling that?
Well, the only issue for our office is accountability and how we can bring greater accountability and transparency to government operations. We do that in a number of ways. I work for Open Government Causes and Issues. I serve on the board of the Washington Coalition for Open Government. I've joined with State Attorney General Rob McKenna last year and again this year in proposing open government and public records laws that will help citizens gain even greater access to their information held by government agencies. But the best effect we can have right now is really looking at how government is structured. Government has not changed for a long time. It just adds layer upon layer upon layer.
As a taxpayer, I've noticed that.
I bet you have. And in a conversation I had with the governor recently, I said, you know, the government structure you inherited from Government Locke was pretty much the same structure he inherited from Governor Lowry, that he inherited from Governor Gardner, et cetera, and on back.
That's
And
because that all these people that want change really, really don't.
they don't really want change. They want different stuff or more of it. And I guess that gets called change along the way. And the worn-out phrase of rearranging deck chairs is considered change by some people. We've got to move past that. With the budget crisis, the situation we're facing right now can't be solved by nibbling around the edges.
No,
This is going to be significant change.
Yeah, we're going to get to some of the big things. We've got to take a very short break.